What is going on, everybody? It is your boy Baddog back with a New York Giants video. Going to do something a little bit different in this video, as you see by the title. But I was reading an article. I forget if it was PFF or exactly where I was reading it, talking about some of the worst draft picks of all time. And the New York Giants had quite a few guys on that list. So I'm not going to go over that entire list. But what I was going to do today is give you my top 5 worst draft picks in the first round since 2000. I wasn't going to go all the way back, but since 2000, since the turn of the millennium, I wanted to give you the top 5 worst. In my opinion, of course, I always encourage you to let me know your top 5 worst picks down below. If you got somebody different, if you agree, whatever, I always look forward to hearing what you guys and girls think. So without any further ado, let's get into some of the worst draft picks of the New York Giants. The people on this team that have driven me and numerous others out of their mind. At number 5, the 5th worst since 2000, is the one and only Evan Engram. Yeah, that's right, Evan Engram. I know he's still on the team, and maybe he can get himself off this list if he actually performed this season. As we all know, this guy has been a train wreck, disastrous, absolutely sucks, and gives us all agita. There's no doubt about it. He's been with the Giants for 4 years. He's had 13 total touchdowns. And 6 of those touchdowns were in his rookie season, which tells you he's had 7 touchdowns in the last 3 years. He's battled injuries. He's battled the inability to block. His catch percentage, which means, when he's targeted, he's catching 60.7% of his passes on targets thrown to him. That's pretty terrible. It's pretty bad. In 35 games, and this is only since 2018, too, because they don't have records for this before 2018 for whatever reason. But since they started keeping track of this, he's got 17 drops in 35 games. That's not good. His drop percentage is 7.1, meaning he drops 7.1% of the passes thrown to him. That's absolutely terrible. Catchable passes. That's terrible. That is absolutely awful. He dropped 10 passes this year, led the NFL in drop passes. He was targeted, the targets last year. We know this. He was terrible last year, but in the targets thrown to him last year, he accounted for 6 interceptions. 6 interceptions on targets thrown to Evan Engram in 2020. Obviously, Evan Engram has been terrible for the New York Giants. It was a luxury pick that we did not need at number 22. We'll always go back to 2017 as Giants fans and think what could have been if Ben McAdoo would have gotten his way and got Pat Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. Those are the guys he wanted. Jerry Reese said no, and they went out and drafted Evan Engram. For whatever reason, I have no idea. But that's who they drafted, and he has been a complete disaster. At number 4, you'd have to be a little bit older to remember this one. If you're 20 years old, you're not going to remember this. You'd have to probably be, I would say, you probably got to be about 30, late 20s to really remember the old Ron Dayne out of Wisconsin, man. Ron Dayne was this big deal coming out of Wisconsin. He was at the time, he was the all-time NCAA Division I rushing champion. He had 6,397 career rushing yards that eclipsed the mark set by Ricky Williams, not including the bowl games that Ron Dayne played in. He had 71 touchdowns in 4 seasons at Wisconsin, and everybody in the New York Giants, the Giants fans, we were all ecstatic when the Dayne train, which he was known, or Great Dane, was coming here to New York. Obviously, he formed a combination with Tiki Barber. They called him Thunder and Lightning. And, hey, maybe in his rookie season, he was actually halfway decent. But listen, man, in 4 years of the New York Giants, Ron Dayne rushed for a total of 2,061 yards. He averaged 3.5 yards a carry. And then he only had 16 touchdowns in 4 years. And anybody that remembers Ron Dayne, this guy was an absolute powerhouse. I don't remember his exact height and weight, but the guy was huge. Right, he probably weighed 240, 245 pounds. He was probably 6 foot tall. He ran straight up. The guy never lowered his shoulders. A guy that size should have been just trucking into the end zone, and he never got there. 16 touchdowns in 4 years. Absolutely pathetic. And again, he was gone after 4 years. Didn't last much longer in the league. I believe he went to the Texans after the fact. And that was kind of the end of him. But Ron Dayne got him make this list at number 4, man. Just absolutely atrocious Ron Dayne, one of my most disappointing Giants I've ever had the pleasure of watching play for Big Blue. At number 3, yep, you guys know this one very well. That would be Eric Flowers. And one thing I love about Eric Flowers, when you type in his name in a text or in a comment section or whatever, and you have autocorrect on, it corrects E-R-E-C-K to W-R-E-C-K. I can't think of anything that is more perfect than that, because this guy was an absolute wreck for the New York Giants. Just a wreck, a turnstile. He was absolutely terrible. Now, I'll give I'll give Eric Flowers a little bit. I'm not going to say I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to make an excuse for Eric Flowers. He was disgraceful here at the Giants. But there is a little caveat with Eric Flowers, which is why he's not higher on this list, okay? He played right guard. He played right tackle in Miami. He never played left tackle over there. The Giants are the only team in the draft that projected him as a left tackle. So he was coming into the league out of position. That's really not his fault. I'm not going to blame him for that. Again, Jerry Reese just got outmaneuvered, as he always did when he was the GM here. The Giants wanted Brandon Sheriff that year. Washington took him, I believe, at number 5. He panicked, and he grabbed Eric Flowers out of Miami at number 9. This is why Jerry Reese was such an inept GM. He had no idea. He had no backup plan. He never did. He didn't know what happened. If his guys got taken, he was terrible. The guy couldn't draft to save his life, which is why the Giants are still in the situation that they're in right now, really set up by him. But now Dave Gettleman's got to start taking the blame, because Jerry Reese has been out of here since 2017. But this was one of the major misses, and he had many of them, but this was a major miss, and there's no doubt about it. We all know Eric Flowers stunk, but what I will say about Eric Flowers, and I screamed about this, moving him to guard. I talked about it a number of times, that they should move him to guard. They should try him at guard. They did try him at right tackle. That also didn't work. He had a really bad attitude. He just didn't fit well in New York, but Washington took him, moved him to left guard, and he played pretty well. I'm not going to say he was great. He wasn't a Pro Bowl guy, but he definitely improved. He was definitely better at that position. And, hey, he got 3 years, $30 million from Miami. So, obviously, once he left here, he definitely got a lot more successful. They put him in the right spot, and he's been serviceable. So, he was terrible here. He's gotten better, but definitely got to make this list at number 3. Eric Flowers, disgraceful. Number 2, DeAndre Baker, man. Could you have had a bigger miss and a bigger disaster than this freaking head case? DeAndre Baker, number 1, his first season in the league, okay? And I'm not going to deny this. I wanted DeAndre Baker. I thought DeAndre Baker was going to be a great cornerback. This is why I'm not a GM, okay? But I watched him at Georgia. I said, this kid can play. This is what the Giants need. He's got good size, he's got good agility, he's good at press coverage. He didn't allow a receiving touchdown his last year at Georgia. And I loved the pick. I loved it. The Giants did give up number 37, a 4th and a 5th overall with Seattle in order to acquire this bum. He did not have one interception for the New York Giants his entire career here in 16 games. Quarterbacks completed 61.5% against them for 850 yards and 6 touchdowns. They had a quarterback rating of 116.2 when they targeted DeAndre Baker. DeAndre Baker came out about 11 games into the season, said he didn't understand the playbook. He didn't know the playbook at all. He was talking about falling asleep at meetings. This guy never had the wherewithal to play in the NFL. He had a terrible attitude. There was talk about red flags all over the place. This is one that Dave Gettleman completely missed on, and there is no excuse for that. He should have done his research. He should have done a better job about this guy's character and about everything else. Now, obviously, he was absolved of any crime, and he caught on with the Kansas City Chiefs and ironically won a Super Bowl, right? But with the New York Giants, this guy was absolutely pathetic. And the fact that we gave up 3 draft picks in order to move up 7 spots to get this scrub who did nothing but cause problems here and never produced on the field at all. He's got to be number 2 on this list. Absolutely terrible DeAndre Baker. And when we do play Kansas City this year, I really hope that Daniel Jones targets that side of the field and they absolutely torch this bum. That's what I hope happens. Number 1, the worst draft pick since 2000, in my opinion, in the first round is none other than probably my greatest rant of all time. That's right. I know people think that Daniel Jones was my great rage, but do me a favor if you haven't done so. Type in Eli Apple, Baddog, whatever. Type in Baddog, Eli Apple in the search engine, or you can search my page and type in my Eli Apple rant. I ranted on Eli Apple way harder than I ranted about Daniel Jones. I swear to God, my neighbor probably heard me scream when we drafted Eli Apple. Again, this was Jerry Reese being completely inept. Eli Apple came out, terrible attitude, extremely mature. His mom was talking a bunch of crap. This guy had no business being here. He played 30 games for the New York Giants in 2.5 years. 30 games, had one freaking interception. This guy was beat on a constant basis. He was absolutely terrible. Could not tackle at all. As a matter of fact, I believe in his career, he's got something like an 18.5 missed tackle rate, which kind of goes back to DeAndre Baker. DeAndre Baker missed 9% of his tackles for the New York Giants. But Eli Apple's twice as bad, missing 18% of his tackles in his NFL career. That is absolutely pathetic. He couldn't tackle at all. He couldn't cover. He couldn't press cover. He couldn't play in the zone. He was absolutely disgraceful. And again, this is another one that Jerry Reese panicked on because they wanted Conklin. Of course, the Titans traded up to get Conklin. They wanted Leonard Floyd. Bears traded up to get Leonard Floyd, which is what sent me through the roof because I wanted Leonard Floyd that year as well. And instead, he panics and goes with Eli Apple. And Eli Apple has been so absolutely atrocious that since 2016, he is now on his fourth team, which is the Cincinnati Bengals. He signed a one-year deal back in March with the Cincinnati Bengals. He played for the Giants, the Saints, the Panthers, and now the Bengals. This guy is disgraceful, absolutely pathetic. Probably the most angry I have ever been in my life at a New York Giants draft pick because coming out of Ohio State, I knew this guy was grabby. He had no wherewithal how to play defense. And like I said, he couldn't press. He couldn't do anything. They just liked his size, which he had good size and he had good speed. But that doesn't make you a good NFL quarterback. It makes you a good athlete. And I've said this time and time again about the combine and how a lot of it is overrated, okay? You can be a great athlete. That don't make you a great football player. There are many great athletes in the world that can't play professional sports because they don't have that skill set. So just because you are big and just because you are fast and just because you're good in college doesn't mean you can move to the next level and actually be successful. This guy is probably the worst draft pick I've seen in my Giants lifetime. Maybe there's some worse. You want to talk about Dave Brown. That was pretty bad. You want to talk about Derek Brown, the tight end of Notre Dame. That was pretty bad. You want to talk about guys like that. There were some pretty bad draft picks that the Giants had in the first round. There's no doubt about that. But since 2000, Eli Apple has got to be the worst first-round draft pick for the New York Giants. Obviously picked 10th overall in 2016 and sent me through the stratosphere. And I'm glad we don't ever need to look at his ugly frickin' mug again. So that is my top 5 list of the worst draft picks that the Giants have had in the first round since 2000. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate you watching the video. Again, please like and subscribe. Share this video out with all your Giants friends. And if you have an opinion on who you think are the top 5 worst draft picks since 2000, leave them below. Always looking forward to seeing you. Plan on doing more Giants content here, as we go on now. I'm going to start trying to put a couple of Giants videos up here. Training camp's just 3 weeks away. Really looking forward to it. And as always, thanks for the support. And hey, like I said, if you made it this far, I'll be live for the NBA Finals Game 1 tonight at 8:45 on this channel. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bad diggity dizzle. I'm gone. Peace.